up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and today we are back on the road to 450 talking about some strength and mobility training and the exercises we've been doing in our first week with the coach to try to figure out how do we actually get on that journey. But before we dive in, we gotta ask, how you doing today, Clint? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
So if you guys caught the first episode of the series, we are on the road to trying to throw 450. I love so many aspects of my disc golf game, except for my backhand distance. I feel like when I put a distance driver in my hand, trying to throw backhand especially, it is not a pleasant experience. So I've decided to put in the work, and I've been actually putting in daily work trying to do this, even though this is the second video that you're seeing, trying to work through that path to get to 450. Now, of course, it is one thing to try to walk through that road on your own. It's another to have an objective set of eyes watching you and sort of helping create a game plan or a path for which you to do this. I'm not really sure that's like proper English. Now, there are coaching conversations that happen all around the internet that you guys are not seeing on a regular basis. And I think that is some of the coaches trying to come together to really talk about, hey, what are we thinking right now? I've been working on this with a student. Have you been working on this with a student? And so we're coming across similar problems, which is also why you are seeing sort of the rhetoric change across certain movements inside of disc golf. And so it's just an ever-evolving thing. We don't have the history that golf does. We don't have the history that baseball does in terms of just learning from all of those things. And we're trying to figure out how to best help you guys. So an opportunity came up because people in the Birdie Fam Discord actually heard someone messaging in another Discord that I didn't even know existed. And they said that there was a coach in there who was like, man, it'd be really sick to try to get Robbie crushing. Now, while I've been working with a coach in the background, I thought this could be a really fun opportunity to do sort of a collaboration, bring spotlight to their channel, even though they don't really need it. They've been crushing it out there on their own. But because we're sort of targeting newer players that may be a different ear that they haven't necessarily heard of this person yet. And I thought it would be fun to have a world where we could bring on the other coach to help continue in the collaboration and the growing and things like that. I know you guys really enjoyed when we were working with Mike Strauss. And so I think this is just a fun opportunity to kind of continue growing and introducing you to more coaches. Being 100% honest, I think it could create a world that we like have a coaching spotlight on the channel where it's like, hey, what do you like to focus on? What do you feel gifted in? And we sort of promote and highlight other coaches and what they're doing as well, just so you guys can kind of learn even more. So, cat's out of the bag. We are going to be working with Blitz DG for a little bit and really just trying to see, okay, what can we do and sort of maybe take a little bit of a different approach. Just try it for a little bit and see, hey, what does the road to 450 look like? Blitz is super excited about this opportunity to just kind of see, hey, can we get things moving and grooving? And excited to bring him on so that maybe we can even try to shoot some, like, I'll see if we can get like permission to him and like have him shoot some stuff that'll like be worked into the videos, things like that. Just kind of see how much of the coaching process, and really I think you guys can drive this in the comments, how much of the coaching process you want to see on film. At the point that I'm shooting this video, you guys are going to be seeing this about a week and a day after I'm shooting this. But at the point of me shooting this, I've been working with Blitz for a week. We set a baseline. I filmed some videos for him through Tech Disc, really trying to embrace sort of his methodology. I think that's one of the things about when you're working with a coach is that you walk into a coaching experience with the mindset of like a Ron Swanson, I know more than you. That can certainly create a lot of roadblocks if you're not willing to trust the process and move along. One of the first things that we noticed is that, like many of you have said in the comments, I have an extreme dip in my throw. And we don't think that necessarily the dip is the worst thing possible, because there are obviously lots of folks who have a sort of pronounced dip inside of their throw, like Calvin Heimberg, Eliezer Midling, and they throw pretty stinking far with that big pronounced dip. But for me, the dip is coming because my body is really afraid of injury. I think about this from the perspective of when I hurt my elbow when I was last trying to push distance, and just thinking to myself over and over again how much of a drawback that was going to be for the channel, because it's sort of my job to be able to throw. So if I injure myself, then suddenly I'm not making videos and I'm having to get real creative on what I'm doing. Blitz has a 10-minute warm-up drill that he has created that is designed to sort of add mobility, flexibility, things like that. And I have every single day, whether I'm throwing or not, been out there trying to work on those drills. I also have a couple extra drills involving some like power super push-ups, as well as it's like a shoulder hang thing. And we're really trying to strengthen the joints in here and the joints in here, because until you really push the thresholds of like 65, 70 miles an hour, those joints, just in probably natural wear and tear, feel like they are comfortable enough to be able to use on their own. But if we're really trying to push for elite distance later on, while we're building the process and while we're walking down the road, it just makes sense to have those muscles built up. That alone is something that a lot of people aren't doing. I know I'm guilty of this as well. I roll up out of the car and I just like get on the course, maybe do a little stretching, especially with injury prevention. It's a stretch that I almost always did from my first ever disc golf injury. Was I'll always do like a lot of these side stretches and things like that to really stretch the obliques and stretch on both sides to get them going. I think Bliss is onto something, and he comes from a powerlifting background, so I think that you also see the world of like, he's got a pretty good understanding of the body trying to like maximally exert itself. So we've just been working on these things, and I'll tell you, like truly just 7 days alone of doing 10 minutes worth of stretching and moving every single day has already made it so that when I was doing this drill of like touching the ground, when I did this originally, I was like in a lot of discomfort, even just getting from discs down to the ground. Now granted, I'm a big boy, I'm 6'3", and I'm pretty much all legs. But in just a week of doing those stretches, I'm already seeing improvement in flexibility and increased range of motion, which is really solid. Excited for that part of the journey. That's not all we're doing. We are trying to create, in this first couple of weeks that we've been working, we are trying to create a new swing path. And you guys noticed in the first road to 450 where I said it starts with the elbow, getting the elbow out high, getting it out in front of the body. This is important. We talked about like coming through, turning the key, things like that. I think that even when I was doing that, I'm having an issue where, because my body is fearing injury, I'm getting to this point right here and my body's like, hey, uncomfortable, we're nervous. So I'm pinning the elbow and I'm actually dropping it to protect myself, because here I'm creating some really uncomfortable and not powerful positions because my body's just not used to them and getting that elbow super out front. And so I'm dropping to this position right here. And so grip strength is only gonna go so far, because as I'm throwing the disc, I'm actually sort of externally rotating out here. And because the elbow stays pinned, I'm not able to hold on to it. And so you're seeing where it's like this dip. But on the dip, what's happening is I'm like over rotating everything. And so the disc is sort of just falling out, instead of being able to have the elbow high and out front and being able to drive the shot out front. To shorten in less technical terms, I'm letting the disc slip out even though I'm trying to let it rip out. Now, lots of people are going to feel this slip out versus rip out by simply not holding onto the disc tight enough, by not having enough grip pressure. And so at some point during the throw, you are opening your hand while you're throwing to try to create these consistent timing release points. So you're opening right here, which is causing really low spin numbers, and it's also throttling your distance. This is something that if you haven't worked on this in the past and you really are struggling in like the under, I would say 300-foot range, most likely you're letting go of the disc at some point during your throw. This is actually a drill from Overthrow, but he talks about if you go one finger pinch and have the disc rip out like that, and then you go to 2, you go to 3, and you just feel that disc physically rip out of your hands. The problem is that I have, and even some of the sessions I've sent to Clint, I have been like, oh, my fingers just aren't holding on, because that was definitely an issue that I was having for the past. But the problem is that when this external rotation is happening, it's not my fingers not wanting to hold on. My hand is just in such a compromised position that I can't hold on. So we're trying to create and learn new body positions, and we're using Tech Disc to do this. Now, what are new body positions? Let's think about an example that I was given when it regards to sort of your body's natural lanes. If I took 4 people and we all stood there and I said, I want you to move your arm from left to right across the screen, right? I want you to move it all the way across. The height that we would choose to do that at is going to be a little different for different people. Some of you are going to be a little more low in your natural swing. Some are going to be a little more high in your natural swing. And it's not just a matter of like, I'm 6'3", this person's 6 foot, this person's 4'9". We would not be choosing different heights just because they'd be swinging at actually different heights, but because of natural body preference. So we when we go into athletic motions or we go into stressful patterns where we're putting our body into those stressful moments, we're going to fall into natural ruts and grooves. Now, because I've been playing disc golf for 12 years and I'm fearing injury from day one, my body has created such a solid natural groove into pinning the elbow. And so whenever I try to do anything hard or fast or anything like that, my body is going and just defaulting back in these natural grooves. So what we've been working on for the last week is slowing things down on an extreme level and trying to create some natural grooves of just over and over again, shadow swings of getting this out and getting the elbow up and out. And I have been doing this for at least an hour every single day. And even the videos that you're gonna see next Tuesday, you may notice that I look a little different when I'm trying to throw, and then it seems a lot more exaggerated, and I've been lacking some power. That's because I feel like if I'm trying to recreate those natural grooves, going out to the course and just falling back into natural form is gonna take those new reps that I'm trying to grind and just eliminate them entirely. Now, it's one thing to do shadow swings over and over again, but it's another thing entirely to get the data and see what's happening. Tech Disc actually has a really cool feature now where if you have Tech Disc Pro, which it's obviously once you buy your first Tech Disc, it's free to use it, things like that after you buy the disc. But Tech Disc Pro is now capturing, it just automatically captures 6 seconds worth of data every single time you go to throw, so that you can go back and watch slow-mos of your form over and over again, and that's all stored in their clouds and their systems. So actually super cool from a coaching perspective, because if you have Pro, when you go to share that data set with your coach, which is super easy to do, they actually can see every single throw that you're doing and get a little instant feedback, so that I don't have to do what I've been doing, which is having my camera set up to record my throws, as well as having an iPad set up that the Tech Disc is connected to, so I can get the data and the metrics. While we're using the metrics of the Tech Disc to sort of help see, are we doing anything, or what's changing, what's adjusting, things like that, it's also just trying to help teach me the idea of this new swing path. By simply getting the elbow up and out and creating a more clean swing path, I'm able to access speeds that I was previously throwing easier. Every day that we can, we've been doing sessions where we are throwing 25 shots in small daily sessions. And then every other day, I have the opportunity, if I'm not going to the course to film or something like that, to do a maximum of 5 sessions of 10 shots a piece, where I actually put a run up in and try to see how are things translating to the run up versus just my standard standstill throws that I'm doing on the other 10 sessions. The first 10 throws are swirly bird or twirly bird, and that is sort of bringing the disc around and then letting, when you do this, letting the elbow sort of naturally develop. You can feel this. If you're standing there, you're watching the video, set the phone down, step away from the computer screen, and just do this little exercise with me, and you can feel the elbow wants to drive. Just by twisting around. I don't necessarily want to be like so loosey-goosey, but I also, because this joint, if I can keep it solid and keep it firm, then everything else can become elastic, and I can focus on driving, keeping that elbow out front, and drive everything else from there. Boom. I can come in, boom. And this is all I'm trying to do. So for 10 throws, I'm not too worried about the metrics. I'm just trying to see what is my like super slow speed. And I'm doing that for 10 throws, just focusing on sort of creating that swing path and feeling and driving in that rut instead of just shadow swings, because it's one thing, everybody is really good at shadow swings, but it's another thing entirely to grab the disc and go ahead and throw it. So we're gonna set our feet up in proper positions. We're gonna come through. Bang, bang. Felt things drop a little bit right there, but that's fine. So we come through, lights green again, and the best part is Tech Disc Pro already captured the throw, so I'm gonna have all of these 25 shots in line. Let yourself feel it. I can feel, like you can see there, I even get a little tighter when I'm trying to do it. I need looseness, bang. Here we go. That one felt a little faster. Not super fast, coming in at 51 miles an hour. I think it's one thing to come in and look at this and be like, oh, well, when you're doing these training sessions, you get out there and just try to gun it over and over again. I think that's where the radar aspect of Tech Disc really gets you. Whereas, like I said, what I like about this drill and the path that Blitz has me on is that we're not looking to throw 450 tomorrow. It's a road, it's a journey. And so we're trusting this process of getting it there. And at the end of this video, we're gonna try to do some send sessions and try to hit a, from this new smooth driving technique, we're gonna try to hit a 60 on the camera. After we've done 10 swirlies of trying to sort of come out and let things fire accordingly and driving everything ahead, now we're gonna do speed control checks, because realistically, when you're stepping up to a shot, you wanna be able to know like, hey, this isn't a full power shot. I don't need to be throwing like on this 200-foot hole, I don't need to be throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour. I don't need to be throwing the 60 miles an hour that I need for 400 feet. I need to be able to throw a smooth 35 and a smooth 40 on an upshot, whatever it may be. And so here, we're trying to achieve 3 different speed plateaus while looking at it and saying, hey, with these 3 speed plateaus, this is what it looks like for me to try to achieve them with as little effort as possible. So we start at 50 miles an hour for me, because 60 miles an hour is 400 feet, 65 is 450. We can get to 65, we are throwing 450, that's the dream. And that was 51 miles an hour. What I like is, over the week, this has really turned into the bread and butter. At 50 miles an hour, I feel like I don't have to really think about it too much. We can just come in and know it's a nice smooth shot to 50 miles an hour. 51.1. We're gonna do 5 at 50, 5 at 55, and 5 at 60. 48.3. It's this tricky game of feel versus real, y'all. 51.1. That one I could feel it actually whip out and whip over, which means it's probably gonna be like 48, 48.2. Now my 55s are super interesting because they feel like a nice middle ground where I feel like I can give it some, but when the ones that I feel like I give it some, I'm actually too slow, and on the ones where I feel like I don't give it any. So it's this weird world of speed where going hard and tensing things up is just so much slower, because often you result from pulling back here to getting out front. So I wanna create these smooth paths. That's fast. 51.6. Nope. Mr. Crawford. You let it roll out. 50.1. I feel like my arm is just not fast, because it's not. 52.7. So now if we weren't recording a YouTube video, one of the things I would recommend is, this is just to break up the data. I would recommend put some headphones in, just kind of jam, get some music going. So we are going to now, we're gonna go 10 throws of giving it a run up and really trying to lean in and pop this. I'm gonna try to let the hips clear because my hips are getting hung up behind. Let's see what we got. 54.7, okay. 56, okay, there we go, slowly climbing. That one felt fast. 57, okay, okay. And then we lost it. 52.9. That could be it. 56.9. Okay, Dennis. You got this, brother. Nope. 52.6. Okay, elbow up, Dennis. Elbow up. I don't think hips cleared, but I mean, if that elbow isn't staying up with that much focus and effort, I actually don't know what to do. So, road to 450 today. Here's what our focus points were. If you don't see this, work on the 10-minute warm-up drill. Get yourself doing this. Get yourself getting that range of motion. This feels natural. I've worked on this a lot. It feels natural, but obviously, as we see, when we're on with a disc in our hand, that's not carrying over. It's definitely different when we compare the throws from 2 weeks ago to the throws that we're throwing today. We're definitely changing things, and it's a slow moving process, but I think that the combination of 1,000 shadow swings coming through and doing this and feeling that motion over and over again definitely helps in sort of drilling it, so that when you get here in just small little reps, even if it's those 25 reps a day, just trying to get used to feeling this puts speed on the table. I want to show that with a little bit of hard effort and a little bit of want, you too can reach your distance goals. So as a guy who gets really frustrated by this process and tries to stay really positive everywhere else in life, I want to do this for us. I want to do this for all of us, because I think that if I'm learning this journey, I can really write down and feel all of it, and that's why we're trying to document it. That's why we wanted to bring Blitz in, so that he can actually be a face on the camera to help with this process, and so that you guys can see this and document this, so that when you reach your 350 journey and you feel stuck, you can come embrace the road. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.